We've come to North Carolina with a simple message for all the people of this region who are hit so hard by Hurricane Helene, and that message is very simple. You are not forgotten any longer.
President Donald Trump lands in Asheville and meets with families who were impacted by Helene, as well as some Republican members of Congress. They include the governor, Josh Stein, Franklin Graham, and others.
We have live team coverage of the visit, plus a look at how the area is recovering with the 4-month mark coming up on Monday. We begin with News 13's Patrick Hushin. And Patrick, you were at the Asheville Regional Airport when the president arrived.
That's right, Holly. President Trump met with supporters today. He met with families who have been heavily impacted by Helene. But his overarching message today was very clear. FEMA has failed the people of Western North Carolina.
Now I'm here in a position where we can do something.
In his first official visit since returning to the White House, President Trump and the First Lady arrived in Asheville, vowing to help Hurricane Helene victims as FEMA's future hangs in the balance under this new administration.
FEMA just hasn't done the job, and we're looking at the whole concept of FEMA. I like, frankly, the concept when North Carolina gets hit, the governor takes care of it.
North Carolina Democratic Governor Josh Stein there to greet the president and talk about a way forward. What's your takeaway from your chat with President Trump?
Well, I'm really grateful that the president came to North Carolina today. I made 2 requests of the president. One is for an additional federal package. We need another $20 billion to help us recover from the federal government, and 100% reimbursement on our expenses for cleanup for another 6 months.
FEMA's efforts to help thousands of displaced people here in the mountains continues to be a focus in the early days of the Trump White House. Congressman Chuck Edwards, alongside the president, arriving home to the mountains aboard Air Force One.
FEMA has to either be eliminated or overhauled. It's clearly a broken bureaucratic system.
Edwards going on to say President Trump is looking to push federal money into Western North Carolina with the stroke of a pen.
We've seen a number of executive orders come out of the White House already, which seems to be fast-tracking a lot of the ideas that Congress has been wanting to accomplish over the last couple of years.
People are also rebuilding their houses. How long does it take to build a house, right? It takes some time. And I want them to build houses bigger, better, nicer than they had before, so they can have, at least they get something out of this disaster. This was a real disaster.
President Trump just meeting with a number of supporters here at the airport. There was talk that he may do more of an aerial tour around Western North Carolina, around the areas that were hit the hardest. That is not his MO. He is on the ground, headed to Swannanoa to meet with the family, meet with more supporters there. In his second visit to Swannanoa since the storm, President Trump arrived to an area still showing signs of devastation 4 months later. There, he got firsthand accounts from 3 families who lost their homes.
Yeah, we didn't think we're going to make it at all. I mean, our house was 25 feet underwater.
And lifted his home and the house that I grew up in and crashed it into our barn.
I appreciate you.
Good daughter you have, huh? Good daughter. Take care of Mom.
President Trump announcing before he left he'd be signing an executive order to lift regulations so roads in Western North Carolina can be rebuilt without permits.
We'll be at your side through every step of the rebuilding, and no American is going to be left behind.
And there you have it. President Trump and Governor Josh Stein both saying today that they will work together on a plan forward. Meanwhile, the president says that the chairman of the Republican National Committee and North Carolina native Michael Whatley would help coordinate recovery efforts in the state going forward.
As Patrick showed us, President Trump spent nearly an hour in Swannanoa touring the area and talking with those families. He vowed to address what he says is a disappointing federal response under former President Joe Biden.
News 13's Kimberly King joins us now live from Swannanoa. And Kim, President Trump vowed to come, and now some people are encouraged.
Tammy, a lot of people here feel it was a major gesture. Trump was here, as Patrick mentioned, right after the storm. And here tonight, we could just show you this is the kind of thing that President Trump saw as he came to Swannanoa this afternoon. He was here, as we mentioned, for nearly 1 hour. He heard from those families, and some of them did give criticism about FEMA. And one of the big headlines coming out of Trump's visit here is the proposal that he'd like to do away with the federal agency and have funds in emergency times like this go directly to the states to manage. That's a major headline coming out of here with Trump's proposal. The presidential motorcade came off the I-40 exit into Swannanoa with Trump in a black sedan with flags headed into the area for a tour. Sizable crowds watched along the roads. People cheered with Trump signs. Trump vowed to help them and listen to one woman's account of federal aid struggles.
I've been fighting with FEMA since day one. Our community, there's like 32 homes. We don't have a road and a bridge. We're driving through our neighbor's property. This happened on September 27th. That's 4 months ago. Well, for us, today is still September 27th.
Yes, unfortunately, our government failed you, but it wasn't the Trump government. It was a government run by Biden.
If it's paying for people to stay in hotels, then that's a misuse of funds. They should have gotten them apartments, something to where it was more of a livable situation.
Now, Trump heard these stories, and also News 13 has covered some of these stories. There are a number of people still living in hotels, even 4 months after the storm, asking for housing from FEMA. But we do want to point out that across Buncombe County, officials for the county say that FEMA has distributed $100 million in direct aid to families. That includes housing help, rental assistance, and other emergency needs. Reporting live from Swannanoa, Kimberly King, News 13.
Another hard-hit area, Biltmore Village in Asheville.
News 13's Taylor Thompson continues the station's live team coverage there. And Taylor, it has been almost 4 months and the destruction is still massive.
Tammy, that is exactly right. I mean, just take a look behind me here. You can see there is a trailer that is still lodged in the Swannanoa River. And something else that's crazy, this is the exact spot I was standing in almost exactly 4 months ago. It was the night before Helene hit. The river was rising, rain was coming down. We were warning residents of what was to come. Now, to put that into perspective for you, the last time I was here, I was standing in a dog park. And you can see, looking around me, looking at the mud on my shoes, the mud everywhere. That is not the case anymore, as Helene completely washed the dog park away. And now this is just one example of the destruction we're still seeing in Biltmore Village. I want you to take a look at some of the footage we shot earlier today. This is down Thompson Street, and you can see that really all that's left is mud and the remainder of buildings. Now, as we move into the River Arts District, you can see the work to clean up and rebuild continues. We ran into the owner of Second Gear, Russ Towers, as what was left of his business was being bulldozed earlier today. He says that progress in the RAD is moving slowly but surely, and what we need to see to help that progress are more dollars coming down from D.C.
I think we also need to continue to have a spotlight from a federal level, and it's great that the president's here today, but it can't just be show up and go and nothing else come of it.
Whether it's in the form of insurance money or grants, Towers says the River Arts District was an economic driver for the city, and they need help to make a comeback. And now what all residents we spoke with today had in common was the love they have for this community and the drive to help build this area back better than it was before. And they're hopeful that President Trump being here today will help to boost those recovery efforts. Live in Asheville, I'm Taylor Thompson, News 13.
As we have heard, President Trump was very critical of the federal response to Helene during this afternoon's visit.
News 13's Jennifer Emmert followed today's events and joins us with a closer look, fact-checking the federal response.
FEMA personnel have been in western North Carolina actively coordinating with local officials, conducting damage assessments, and helping individuals apply for disaster assistance programs despite the president's comments today.
Rather than going through FEMA, it will go through us. And I think maybe this is a good place to start. Because, and in all fairness to the governor, in all fairness to everybody else, FEMA was not on the ball. And we're going to turn it all around. Yes.
FEMA has provided recovery funding for the region, while some criticize the speed of it. Here's a breakdown. $316 million has come to North Carolina from FEMA in cash grants. More than 2,200 households are currently getting rental assistance worth $6.2 million. FEMA has also made more than 134,000 homes in the region. Disaster unemployment has also been dispersed, $11.2 million of that. And 2,800 individuals have been approved for SBA loans totaling $213 million.